Hello and welcome to another Purveyor of Light Photoshop Quick Tip. Today we've got another viewer request to expand on the previous video where we covered, using a luminosity masks to highlight the highlights of an image. And they wanted to know, is there a way to, create these luminosity masks manually, on all levels and control and that. So I said, sure. Now I'm going to forewarn everybody, you might want to get a notebook, take some notes, stop the video and jot down things to help you, because it's going to be a little bit labor intensive, especially with keyboard strokes. I'll put up here on the screen here some of the shortcuts. If you're on a PC, okay, know that the fact that Option translates into the word Alt. Okay, so if I say Option, it means Alt on the PC. I try to always say Alt or Option when I talk about tutorials to help you, but just know that Command equals Control. Okay, so if you're on a PC, just use those interchangeable keys. Okay, so Option equals Alt, Command equals Control. Okay. All right. The other thing here is I've got up on the screen, we're going to do keyboard shortcuts galore on this because it's so keyboard intensive on making luminosity masks. The first thing is to select a luminosity mask's luminosity, you've got to hold the command and then click on the thumbnail. So just keep that in mind. Then if you want to add to the selection, then it's Shift Command Click. If you want to subtract from the selection, it's Option Command Click. If you want to intersect or multiply a selection, it's Shift Options Command Click. Okay. Now put that in the notebook. Okay, because if you don't do this every day, you're going to forget it. Okay, and so write this stuff down however you keep your notes organized, and that we're going to be using these commands throughout the tutorial. So if I haven't scared half of you off, we'll go ahead and dive in. I should note too that when I get done with the tutorial, I'm going to talk you as hard as I can into using third-party tools. Okay. Lumnezia, TK8, which is Tony Kemper luminosity stuff. They're fantastic tools. They're dirt cheap. I mean, I think they're like $29. And they save you so much time, so much effort, and you have so much more control. Okay, so with that being said, I'm going to keep my promise here, and we're going to do it all manually here. All right. So let's jump in. We got an image up here of a tunnel, and look at the beautiful range of luminosities in this particular image, the different shades. Okay, so if I turn around and I just do a quick adjustment here, and I change it to black and white. Okay, this is what a luminosity mask is basically. It's a black and white image. All right, and just remember this rule. This is the first thing that goes into your notebook. White reveals, black conceals. Okay? I'm going to pound that into you until it becomes second nature. You're going to be reciting it, okay, the rest of your life. White reveals, black conceals. Now, in English, that means anything that is white or on the light side of white is going to be selected. Anything darker to that will not be selected. Okay, it's that simple. So if I wanted to adjust the lights and the ceilings and all that and the highlights there, I would select the highlights to do that adjustment, and then therefore my adjustment would only affect them. So let me throw this layer away and we'll get started. All right, first things first, you got to go to your channels panel. If you don't see it, it should be right here by default. If you do not see it, don't panic. Just go up to Window, and then hit channels right there. Okay? So it's always that easy if you can't find what I'm talking about. All right, so we've got the RGB, the red, green, and blue. All right? We are going to make a luminosity masks by command clicking on the RGB layer. So, very carefully, I am going to hold the command key down, command or option, right? Command or control, right? For the PC guys. And I'm going to click once on the thumbnail. And you can see we now have the marching ants, okay, on the image of the highlights, okay? So that's our first step to make our first luminosity. Down here, I just click on the create and it automatically creates that channel and they call it Alpha 1 by default. We'll go ahead and rename that. And this is Lights 1. Okay? And you'll notice I'll deselect. When I select that, it's just a black and white image where white reveals and black conceals. That's all it is. Okay, so we want to be able to have finer controls on adjusting our images. So if I command click, that highlights this luminosity channel. Notice it's highlighting just the highest. If I come back into the layers and I go and I make an adjustment layer, now this is not a step here, I just want you to see how it works. If I turn around and open up the adjustment panel, applying that mask, you can see now when I make adjustments, look how it's only affecting the parts of the image that are in that luminosity. In other words, white reveals, black conceals. And look how smooth it is. Look how beautiful the selection is. This is how you make really quality adjustments to your images when you're editing. Okay? So you may not like luminosity masks. You may get intimidated by it. But I tell you what, if you want to do good post-processing, they are essential to your workflow. So it's best to get comfortable with it. Now, like I said, I'm going to teach you to do these manually, right? We just created our first one, our Lights 1, all right? I'm going to highly talk you into buying a third party like Lumnezia or TK8 and buy them. Spend the $29. It's the best money you'll ever spend. No kidding. I mean, really, because it makes it so easy, and I'll demonstrate that at the end on how easy it is. All right. So I'm going to throw this away. Now that we have a good understanding, we're going to go back to work. So we left off in the channels and we made our Lights 1 luminosity mask. So now we need to make a Lights 2, which is going to refine that even further, right, as we dig in. All right. So again, now I am going to do the control or command click on the thumbnail to make the selection of that highlights 1. All right. Now that's very important because we're going to be building on the previous luminosity mask, and we're going to do this. We're going to repeat this process over and over and over again. All right. So I'm going to put the keyboard cheat sheet up here on the screen, and we are going to do what's called an intersect or a multiply selection. All right. And so therefore the keyboard command is, we're going to shift, option, command, click. And that just roll off the tongue. All right. All right. But that's what we're going to do. All right. We're going to turn around and on this layer, we're going to turn around and, like I said, command kick, and now we're going to do an intersect. So we're going to very carefully with our fingers, shift, option, command, and then click on the thumbnail. And you'll see now we have made a change in our selection. Look how small and refined it is. This has refined our highlights to what we call a Lights 2 luminosity mask. So again, I click this and I create the layer. It calls it alpha 1. This one is now lights 2. Okay, so now if we go back through the ones here and I click on that, there's lights 1. You'll see how much white and what areas are selected. And then I take lights 2, and you can see how much the selection is so much less. Okay, remember, look at the white, because that's the area we're going to affect. So there, the first lights 1 is going to affect a very large area, right? See how much white is around the lights in that? And then lights 2 is a very more precise selection. Okay, so now let's go ahead and make a lights 3. Okay, again, command click to select that. And now we are going to what? We're going to do another intersect selection. Okay, and so we're going to use the keyboard shift option command and then click. And now we're even more refined, and I click on the new layer to save it. And I call this a lights 3. Okay. All right. So deselect. So now I'm going to show you again. Now we have lights 1, which is going to affect all the white areas are going to be affected by that. Lights 2 is a more refined, okay, a more precise. And then lights 3 is even more precise. This is how we can really add interest, and really, when we're editing our photos, we can have ultimate control. Okay? And it's unbelievable what you can do with this. Okay, so we've created the thing. Now, you could go on and on, all right? I'm not going to run you through making 9 levels of lights, all right? You get the idea. It's the same process no matter what we do. Now, how do we make the darks? Okay, well, the darks are nothing more than the inverse, okay, of the highlights, right? So if I take lights 1 and I command click, I'm highlighting the highlights, okay? So we want the opposite in order to do the darks, right? So come up to select and inverse that selection. Now you see we're doing the exact opposite of the selection. Now with that done, just go ahead and save it. Come down here, and again it enables it lights 1, but we're going to rename it to darks 1. Okay, so now look at what it did here. Look at what we're doing. We now have a tremendous amount in white. That's because it represents the darks. Okay, so if this represents the lights, remember, white reveals, black conceals. So look at that. So we're going to affect all the dark areas. And you say, oh, well, that's getting interesting, right? You see how luminosity masks let us work? Now, all we do is just continue on down the line, okay, with lights 2, right? We command click, and we have lights 2 selected. We then come up and we do select, inverse, and then we save it. And we rename this one darks 2. Okay, so lights 1, darks 1, and you can see anything in white is going to be affected. Anything in black is not going to be affected. If we go to darks 2, even more intense, right? It precise. Now, this is what starts getting people's brains confused, right? They see all this brighter image in the white, and it gets them confused. Just keep saying the mantra. White reveals. Blacks conceals. So on the darks 2, what am I going to affect? Anything that's in white. But I'm not going to affect anything in black. All right. So next thing, lights 3, command click on lights 3. I'm going to go up to select inverse. And I am now going to save it. And this is darks 3. Okay. So darks 1, darks 2, and darks 3. Okay. So let's just see how I'm going to select darks just to show you get an understanding. So look at what this is going to do. White, what it's going to affect. So switching back to layers, I come in and I am going to do an adjustment. I'm going to do a curves. And here we are. I'm going to click on this so it just goes to the image. But look at the point where I'm adjusting. Is that not cool? Is that more accurate and more finessable than you could ever do with an adjustment brush or anything else like that? That's why we do luminosity masks. And again, to see the mask, just hit the Alt key and you can see that's what I'm going to affect. Am I going to affect this light up here? No, because it's in black. And what's the rule? White reveals, black conceals. Okay? All right. So that's how we do these things manually. Okay? And as you can see, we just continue on. The last thing I'm just going to show you is just how to make a midtone. Okay? Midtones are a little bit trickier, but not much. Okay? So to do a midtone, we're going to first off, we're going to select the entire image. All right. So on the RGB, Command A, and that gives us the entire image. All right. Now you can see the marching ant border around the back. I'm going to forewarn you, don't panic. You're going to lose the marching ants. And that's because the marching ants only represents lights and darks. What we're asking it for is midtones, so that the dancing ants will disappear when we start working on selections. Okay, so we selected the whole image. All right, and now I'm going to option click, on option command click on the lights. Okay, now I'm going to put the cheats up here again. So option command click, which is going to subtract, right? You see the line there? We're going to do a subtraction. So with that done, we're going to subtract the lights 1. So what are we going? We're going to do option, command, and click. Now we have subtracted that. Okay? Makes sense? And we're now going to do it from the darks too. So now the next step is to do the darks 1, and we're going to subtract that. So we're going to hit option, command, and click, and that's going to warn us, saying, whoa, what you're going to do, there are no pixels that are more than 50%. So the marching ants are going bye-bye. All right? That's what I warned you about. Just hit OK. So even though it's not showing any marching ants, there are selections made. Okay? So just remember that when you're doing midtones. All we need to do, is just trust that they're selected and save the layer. So to come down here, Alpha 1, and we name this midtones. All right? So now if I click that, this is the midtone, luminosity mask. So darks 3, darks 2, darks 1, lights 3, lights 2, lights 1. You get the idea. Okay, now, as you can see, we can continue on this process over and over and over again. Okay? Please don't. Okay? There's no need to go through all this thing. Now, I have even turned around when I started out many, many years ago doing luminosity masks. I created an action, and the action did everything I just did here. It just automated the whole process of creating all these luminosity masks. And you know what? It was a waste of time, because when you put these many luminosity masks in your image, the size of this image is off the charts. Okay? This image is getting huge. We're talking gigs and gigs. Okay? It's incredibly wasteful on hard disk space and that. And then you better not save your image with all these luminosity masks. You're going to run out of hard disk space in no time whatsoever. So you got to make sure that when you're done, use the layers that you want to use, but then erase them. Get rid of them before you save your file. Okay? And that's another reason to use a third-party product. All right. So now I'm going to undo everything we have here. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how quick these third-party plugins for Luminosity masks work and how easy it makes your life. So I'm just going to take Lumnezia here, and I'm going to open it up. And I have a little dialog box here that just says, okay, well, it says optimize it here. All right, so now we're optimized. Got my darks, my mids, and my lights. Okay, so I'll just take my lights, and it starts out with a lights mask. Now you see the slider on the left here. It lets me take it down to lights 1, lights 2, lights 3. So I come down to lights 4, and now it refines it to lights 4, lights 3, lights 2. Okay, and so by doing that, I'm done. Okay, it just made my thing. So now I can say, well, what do I want to do with this luminosity? I want to do a curves adjustment. So I hit curve, and it creates everything for me. It made the layer, it made the mask, and it made everything ready to go. So now all I just need to do is adjust the curve, and I can do whatever I want to adjustments. See, I can adjust, and look how beautiful the adjustment is, right? It goes in, it's all natural, okay? And again, it only affects what the luminosity mask will allow it to. And so that's what a third party brings you. Now, the TK8 package, oh, that brings the world in. Okay, that is another competitor to it. It is incredibly complicated, but it does just as well. Okay, so open that up, and you can see already I can do a lot. I mean, this is a fantastic product. Okay, but you got to take some time in to go work with it. All right. Most people don't need this complexity, but it's there. If you enjoy it, you can most certainly do so. So the two I recommend, TK8 and Lumnezia. Okay. Lumnezia is just the bare bones. Hey, you want to get an luminosity mask and do an adjustment with it. So I highly recommend it. So there you go. Probably half of you have already gone. And then probably the people that requested this video said, why did I request this in the first place? I don't recommend making luminosity masks manually. Okay? But now you know how to do it. And so I'm going to stop the video here. And until next week, You guys take care.